So let's go through some of the interesting questions I had prepared. Which one can we bring up here to reconnect? So with this this soul that we've just tried to dust off a little, how can we do that? What do you suggest?
All right, let me pick up on another thread you mentioned, okay? What can we suggest? So the first point is exactly this. The first step is to see what patterns I carry with me that are unhealthy. How do I recognize which patterns are unhealthy and lead me to unhappiness? The test is very simple: emotions. When I feel alone, when I'm feeling truly angry or when I feel overwhelmed, all of these emotions are clear signals of something I'm still waiting for, a deep-seated expectation. There's a sign that if I don't stop there but go deeper and ask, what is the cause of this? Then I look at what needs, what things I'm thinking about. Why do I want to have the nicest shirt? Why, if I don't have a degree, then... And these things come up that make me suffer. When I recognize these, I can let them go, of course. It's easy to say, in fact, as I've said in my courses, you get there little by little. The second step then is first to recognize what makes me suffer and let it go. The second is to cultivate what makes me feel good. What makes me feel good? Being in the things that make me feel grateful, things that make me feel fulfilled. And I cultivate that. But what makes me feel good? Well, only when I'm with my kids, but my kids don't really care about me anymore, you know? There's that, but is there anything else? So cultivating that is fine, but what else? And very often it's precisely this deep connection, seeking out what allows me to connect with that part, which is my essence. So nature, deep meditation, feeling that there is this flame, this divine spark, this love that Yogananda talks about. I have to believe in it and I have to cultivate it. I have to put my intention into it.
So we could say that if an individual person is experiencing a deep-seated fear of being in the water, the most effective and powerful method to completely eliminate and exercise that specific fear of water, maybe it's to sign up for a swimming class and go there with someone who starts by having you dip in one foot, then the other foot, then your legs. Then they tell you to stretch out. They're there with you. The water isn't deep. They support you. There you go. And so probably even those who are faced with loneliness, which causes suffering. So there's this emotion, I'm alone, nobody loves me, nobody cares about me, I'm worthless, and so on. Instead of being overwhelmed by that emotion, knowing that by facing it, maybe by really going into it, maybe little by little, it's not necessary to start out like you do, doing solo journeys or things like that.
Like immersing yourself in the Brazilian forest.
But even that could be an option. Maybe for someone who is still doing well, but suffers from loneliness, why not? He could decide, okay, then I'll really face this thing. I'll exercise it, go right into it all the way, see what it tells me, or maybe I'll really die. But then he'll realize that he doesn't die. He doesn't die just because he spends 10 days alone walking in a forest. No, in fact, he'll come out of it completely healed, more on a deeply soul level. So I have the impression that there is an obstacle that can probably be overcome through knowledge, even thanks to an interview like this one, knowing that we all suffer from this fear, even the fear of being disconnected, of being alone. We are never disconnected from anything. We are always connected to everything on a soul level, on the level of that something you mentioned earlier. And to discover that thing, we don't need to attach ourselves to things outside, but we need to go inside, into that place. So even if you're 80 or 90 years old, there are so many techniques, and in your book you've described a lot of them. Walking barefoot, lying on the ground, being naked in the sun. I enjoy nudist experiences, and I have to say that When you're naked in the sun, at first you almost feel like God is watching me because I'm naked, right? Because if you're wearing a swimsuit, he doesn't watch you, but if you're naked, he does. Hugging a tree, sleeping under the stars, dancing all by yourself, or traveling alone, these can all be great experiences. Techniques to start facing this tiger called loneliness.
Yeah, the first important point is to change your internal belief, meaning to think that if, and everyone has their own, if my children aren't around, I feel alone. If I don't have a partner, I feel alone. If I don't have friends, I feel alone. So it's about understanding what yours is, which obviously isn't our fault. It comes from past experiences, but also from old things, from my parents, from family. So I carry these things in my backpack without even knowing it. So I need to understand what it is that makes me say, I feel alone. Or as you said, because I feel judged, I'm in a group, I feel alone because I feel inadequate, because I look at others, someone has a nicer car, and so I feel alone. Maybe others don't care at all, or maybe they do. I put myself exactly in those environments where there's judgment. Again, we're still there. So when I recognize that and I choose, this is the first point, I choose, I decide that it doesn't have to be that way. I know it can be different. And maybe, in fact, reading a book helps me, one that changes me inside. And you say, no, why should I go on, spend my last 10, 25, 30 years of my life feeling this way? No, I can do something different. When I have this strength, then I start to inform myself, and then I can have those experiences. Because otherwise there's a part of us that says, like when I say, for example, going to a restaurant alone, right? For me, the first time was dramatic. I thought everyone was looking at me. Then after a while, I started to feel so good. I realized that even if people were looking at me, it was almost like I could see a bit of envy, like, damn, look at her, how comfortable she is on her own. Whereas at first I would think, look, they're looking at me and I feel judged, pitied, like a loser alone. So something really changes inside. I felt the power to be alone. Good, right there. And I'll finish, okay? I'm done. So when then? I get there and I've done some inner work. You can't avoid it, because if you keep searching, even if you find a partner, a companion, a group of friends, when for some reason that's not there, you'll fall back into the abyss. Don't cling to the outside. The outside is only there to share the energy you've accumulated thanks to your inner work. Otherwise, you'll always be begging.
And I confess, Miranda, that I'll probably have to come and attend one of your seminars. Why? Do you know why? Because even as a man, for a while, you have your professional career. So you are what's written on your business card. Then you retire and you can't even say that stuff anymore. And then you realize that physically, little by little, your muscles get softer and the tattoo you had redone no longer looks like what you wanted. It's
nice tattoo.
Exactly. And so, wow, if you really think about it, I recently went to visit my uncle who is 95 years old, and he was telling me this exact thing, like, thank you, as if even his body was abandoning him. But just think about that, right? It's touching, because now I can say, oh, okay, it's my boyfriend, my girlfriend, my friends, they die, they leave me alone, they don't care about me anymore. But then even your own body abandons you. And even your own mind, sometimes you realize it's leaving you alone too. But who is that alone one who is being left behind?
Exactly, you've hit the point. The point is to always ask yourself what doesn't change, because everything will change. And even your partner, even if you have the most wonderful companion, sooner or later, one of the two will die anyway. Someone will be left alone. So you have to ask yourself what doesn't change and what is special in that moment. And you spoke about a man, but think about it for a woman, for example, me. When I used to wear heels and a tight skirt, I remember this image of myself with all these packages in my hands, wearing a particularly tight, very cute skirt that I rarely wore because it was especially snug. I get out of the car with all the packages in my hands, and in that classic commercial-like move, I use my butt to close the car door. A car drives by, they whistle at me, and I just went along with it. Sometimes I think back to that scene and say to myself, now that won't happen anymore. I don't wear heels anymore, not at all. I don't have the body of a 25 or 30-year-old anymore. What can I be appreciated for? For something else? What can I offer? Something else?
Many elderly people tell me I feel invisible. So at that point, it's clear that the world of beliefs they've instilled in us, that we are what we've been told throughout this whole interview, comes out. The more they've told you that your worth is based on what you are, the more. So the important thing is that if we manage to spark this awareness that we are something more. In fact, the school of life is exactly this. I also read somewhere that we die to learn that in reality we don't die, but you have to go through that experience to gain that awareness. I would really like to die in a state of pure joy, in deep gratitude for absolutely everything that has ever been, rather than living in a state of constant fear.
Maybe if I can take advantage of what you just said, two things. One is we die every day, and thank goodness for that. And so we should let go. Every time a bit of ego dies, a bit of who we were before dies, but I have to see it as space opening up for something else. And so we remember the things we say like, when I have a husband, when I have children, then when I retire. So many people tell me, when I retire, I'll finally be able to do what I want. And then those who are retired say, no, but before. So if I delegate things to the outside, there will always be something I'm waiting for. And I'll always think there's something else. And the other thing is precisely to get closer. And the closer I get, very often, and also because it's something I bring into my programs, I ask, if I truly only had 1 month left to live, what would I do? That is, it becomes more and more precious. And even for a woman going through menopause, energy is lower. And so it's as if life keeps calling you and calling you and calling you. You've had so many streams where your energy has been lost and now you don't have it anymore. So you have just a bit of energy. Focus on one thing, two things, the most important things. And so you become more aware. I no longer feel like wasting my time proving that my shirt is nicer than yours. I mean, that's a waste. And so this helps us move in the direction we truly want. But that's why the work always starts with yourself. Because otherwise, if you don't realize that, you'll keep wasting it and complain, saying, oh God, I don't have any more time. I don't have any more. No, but is it really that you don't have it? What you have, use it well. Yes.
I have also spent a great deal of time reading about the philosophy of minimalism, which, if we are being honest, doesn't simply mean giving up all the beautiful and meaningful things in life, right? But it certainly does mean not going out to buy the absolute latest car model just to show the rest of the world that you have the extra money to do it, especially when in the end you don't even truly care about the vehicle itself, or perhaps drinking that entire bottle of expensive wine that you already know is quite bad for your health, but you feel pressured to do it anyway. But you do it for society instead of for yourself, right? So becoming a minimalist means doing things for, how can I say, I would say for the soul, first and foremost, rather than for appearances.
It's not even that deep. It's for you. The question is, what really brings you joy? If you only had a month left to live, you wouldn't even care about wasting time talking to someone. Look, I'm not interested in this conversation. I'll do something else. So I really talk about what makes me feel good, what makes me happy.
By doing these interviews, studying this topic of longevity a bit and talking to many older people and experts, I also realized that this not listening to who we truly are, to ourselves really, is often actually the cause of depression and many illnesses. Because by constantly ignoring ourselves, we end up corrupting ourselves with so many things in life. And then at a certain point, the body tells you, hey, I'm here too. Can you remember me? Can you love me a little? Can you love who you are? Instead of always selling yourself short everywhere. And so I really feel I can share that the third and fourth stages of life can become the most beautiful, most transformative periods, because we can reclaim those values, that sense of sharing, which maybe we couldn't before, perhaps because we had so many things to do. We had to be outside of ourselves.
Of course, and going back to that idea of continuity, when a person is focused on what does them good, what makes them feel good, this too is what they bring to the field. So when they interact with someone, they transmit this energy, even perhaps without talking about it. But the other person is inspired by the fact that this one is free, is a free person, because they are doing what makes them feel good. And so they emit a frequency of freedom, of trust, of being grounded, even without doing anything else, just by doing what makes them feel good.
So it's time to tell those listening to us that when I bought this book, I did it precisely because I thought maybe one day I'll be afraid of loneliness too. So let me get prepared. I'll go read. And then I read it a second time specifically to prepare for this interview. And I found it extremely important because it's something that in one way or another affects everyone, even at 20. But I would say that after 60, it's a must to understand it better. These dynamics within this book, there's something you mentioned, 3 steps: cleansing, cultivating, and sharing. Now, I don't want to give away any spoilers because maybe that way people will go out and buy it. But if you could tell us something, what do you mean by cleansing, cultivating, and sharing?
Yes, these are the 3 pillars of inner alchemy. It's a bit like what I mentioned earlier. It's really about thinking when I want to make a kind of internal change. It's like imagining you have a field where I want to cultivate. I want to have roses. I want to have fruit, a peach tree that gives me peaches.
A beautiful garden.
Beautiful garden. The first thing I have to do is clear out the weeds and stones because otherwise nothing will grow. So that first internal work is about eliminating. Internal elimination means being aware of unhealthy patterns, like we said at the beginning. How do I do that? Emotions guide me. When I'm not feeling well, when I react in some way, it's a fantastic opportunity for the alchemist to turn lead into gold, to have lead, and the angrier I am, sad, or feel like crying, the more lead there is to be used as raw material to transform. So the first step is to notice what these patterns are.
Paradoxically, the greater the amount of junk that exists, the more possibilities there become available.
Yeah, of course. That's the beauty of it. The good news for those who practice inner alchemy is that the more shit you're bringing out, the greater the opportunity to transform it. My rain is your ear, raw material.
So for anyone who feels like they're in a bit of a crappy moment, there's a lot of value in that.
Absolutely, yes. And also for those listening, remember how many times in your life you've been in deep shit and how many times that moment was the turning point. Because otherwise, we just keep going on being average, but also mediocre. So moments of change are often moments of great crisis. So it's good, as the Chinese ideogram says, crisis is also an opportunity for change. So the first step is to eliminate in this sense of becoming aware, because as some teachers say, there is no cosmic trash can, right? So you say, I realize that I have this expectation towards others, that I don't trust myself, that I'm a perfectionist, that I have the need to control, blah, 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 and you just throw it in the trash. You have to work on it, and that's fine. But the first point is to become aware of it. So you become aware, you shed light on it, and it's like what happens with vampires, right? When you shine a light on a vampire, it's the same thing. When you shine a light and notice what you've seen, then it loses its power. When I became aware of that, just like in a field, I cleaned it up, then I can plant the seeds. What do I want? So it's about intentions. where do I want to go? How do I want to see myself in these next 10 years, 20 years of my life? What do I want? Having the intention of what I want. And that's where all the visualization work comes in. Seeing myself already there without thinking about the how. But I can't, I don't have money, I don't think this way. Those are the hows. Let the universe take care of that if you have a good and beautiful intention for yourself. And that it also brings benefit to at least 2 other people so that it's not just for yourself. I want the Ferrari because I want to look cooler. See, we're still at that level. But if it's something that is good and beautiful, the universe is ready to support you. When this is the case, when I have this field, and I've cultivated it and the flowers start to bloom, what do I want to do? I share the flowers, I offer them, the fragrance spreads around, and then it becomes easy. And at that point, you can't be alone anymore because you're sharing, you're offering, and people want to receive.
Yes, as someone once said, a flower doesn't give off its fragrance for itself. But I have it. What you are, when you are, you offer it. Miranda. I am very grateful because I think this is an interview that can really leave an important mark for those who want to try, who want to listen. I know that this is your work, helping people, empowering people. You're in Tenerife, right? Yes.
Let's say so, thank you. Between Tenerife and Italy, I go back and forth, but yes, the physical place we're building is there.
By clicking on your website, since you do a lot of activities, I'll also put the link in the description. So if anyone is interested, it could be a great experience. They can take a plane and come all the way to Tenerife if they want. I don't know if you want to add anything else in closing to say goodbye to those following us, to make them feel less alone.
Yes, gladly, maybe. Now that you've also mentioned some activities, one of the things I've been working on for a while, it actually started during COVID, but it's as if the universe brought me there by chance. We actually started this circle, alchemists, and there are 2 meetings. Every month we meet online, so there are people from everywhere. Where? So each time we explore tools of inner alchemy. And it's, let's say, a lighter, simpler thing where someone might say, well, okay. In fact, I have people who are over 70, over 80, people who maybe don't feel like doing much, who knows what, but being surrounded by, as Buddhism says, a sangha, meaning a group of people, a context that it helps you not so much to avoid feeling alone, but because it's a context that is working.
Of course.
Everyone is working on themselves and is inspired by others, and this gives incredible strength.
Facing things together, facing them together.
And growing together, as we say, is easier, more beautiful, and more fun.
So for anyone interested, can they find all the information about this on your website? What is the circle called?
Circles, alchemists. And then there are various programs like the Reclaim Your Power Path. It really depends on what level a person is ready to enter and go deeper. And age really isn't, I've had people wonderful who have been retired for a long time and have made great contributions. I'm talking
about age. Miranda, whenever there's a birthday or someone wishes me happy birthday, I always say, honestly, I'd almost rather skip this whole thing because we're so conditioned, aren't we? If they tell you it's your birthday, you're 70, you start thinking like a 70-year-old. It's your birthday, you're 80, you start thinking like an 80-year-old. So I'd almost rather just forget about it, you know? Let's just drop it, wipe it away. That way I have the age I feel on a deeper level, not just because I'm conditioned by a number. Because if you think about it, 150 years ago, a 70-year-old was basically done for. Today, a 70-year-old is super cool and can still do a ton of those things.
Absolutely. In fact, why not flip it around? I mean, when I see people in their 80s, I think, wow. Seriously, tell me what to do. I'll sign up to be like that. And these people with so much freedom, lightness, and peace of mind tell you, I do yoga and now I just do whatever I want. You look at them with a bit of envy, right? You think, okay, come on, I'll get there too, right? So it's really about being able to flip things around and see how I can inspire others. Precisely because that age that shows up on the birthday candles, 70, 80, you look at an 80-year-old and say, wow, congratulations. We must change this because it's already changed, like you said, 20 years ago. Back then, a 70-year-old was seen as useless.
We need to transform these beautiful wrinkles into a testament to a vibrant life, well and fully lived, of honor, and not as something,
of course, of wisdom and everything else that can be offered, which others don't have yet. So always look at what has been gained from this.
Miranda, thank you so much. It was a great privilege, and who knows, maybe we'll see each other in Tenerife sometime. A hug.
Thank you, Enzo. Thank you, everyone. And maybe we can end with the phrase I use to close all which I say, it's my wish, right? That your purpose here is to be consciously happy, and this allows you to spread your happiness to others simply because you have worked on yourself. And this also means contributing to creating a better, more conscious and happier world. So I wish you awareness and happiness to all of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.